Yeah, come in. Hey, I just wanted to provide you just a little bit of feedback. I've been watching your videos, really enjoying them. Maybe you could introduce some humor into it. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed. Feel free to take it or leave it. Just wanted to provide it to you. Thanks. No, I think it's some great feedback. Some great feedback. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I'll definitely work on it. Thanks. What gives him the right to give me some feedback? Are you kidding me? Feedback is a gift. If that's the case, then how come nobody really wants it? Well, I guess that's not true. People do want it. Makes them feel all warm and fuzzy inside when they give it. But for those managers that are asking for feedback that never act on it, where does that feedback go? My name is Matt with Elevating Yourself, and today we ask the question, why do leaders ask for feedback but then just ignore it? We're going to be exploring why leaders do this, what the repercussions of it is, and then what can leaders do in the future to maybe help with feedback. So first, why do leaders ignore feedback? There's actually 5 reasons that I could think about that make leaders ignore feedback. First is the egos and insecurities. There are a lot of leaders out there that when they're given feedback, they actually take it a little bit too personal. And it's not to say that it isn't personal feedback sometimes, but you've got to put yourself into the right mindset when you're a leader. If you're getting feedback that is about yourself, then think about what it is that you can do differently or at least to improve. Just because you get feedback from somebody that is negative or that puts you into maybe a different mindset doesn't mean that you always have to act on it. Sometimes it's just about adjusting the way that you are. Just doing things a little bit differently can make the difference. Next is confirmation bias. There's a lot of situations out there where leaders just want to listen to feedback that kind of sits in their own beliefs. And it's great to find people that side with you, but when you're looking to make decisions, when you're looking to get feedback all around, you have to make sure that you're getting that feedback from people that have disagreements with you, that see things a little bit differently. So that way, when you're making decisions, you can make decisions with all of the information, not just your own. Next is a lack of trust with employees. And I see this one actually quite a bit where employers will look less at the feedback from the people that report to them because they feel, why would somebody beneath me have a better idea than me? I mean, I was put in my position because of my skills, my knowledge, my capableness. It just doesn't make sense that somebody beneath me would have a better idea than me. And this is a tough situation because if you're in that type of toxic environment, then realistically the feedback that you provide will actually fall into deaf ears. After that is just a simple fear of change. When feedback is given, it usually means that something is off and needs to be changed. And when that change occurs, a lot of leaders hate that. They're comfortable in their own situation, and so when any change is introduced, they just don't like it at all. It makes them feel uncomfortable inside. And finally, it's just a system of acting on feedback. There is a great process out there of gathering feedback. There's surveys beyond surveys. But if you don't have a system in place to really act on that feedback, then what is going to happen to it? Why are you even collecting it? Are you doing it just because you want to do it? Or do you expect there to be meaningful changes in your organization? So what happens when feedback is ignored? There's a lot of things that really could result when feedback is ignored. I know for me, I feel like it's almost a waste of my time sometimes when I've given feedback and it's not acted on. And I really do enjoy giving feedback because I also enjoy getting feedback. And it's a give and take when it comes to that type of relationship. You've got to be willing to get feedback if you are also willing to give that feedback. I know there's a lot of people out there that have fantastic ideas. I've worked with so many smart people at so many different levels that if I didn't have their input, I don't think the business would have been nearly as successful as it was. And so to be in a leadership position and not take any of that into heart is just ridiculous. You hired people because of the skills that they possessed, because of the knowledge they possessed. So why wouldn't you listen to those ideas and feedback when they give it to you? It's a free way of making your business better. So listen to them, act act on it and make a difference. And if you're not taking this feedback, innovation is going to stifle at some point. You've got people around you that are there for a reason. And if you're not letting them innovate, then those talented individuals are going to find a place to work that will listen to them. And this is going to leave your people also feeling powerless. Like, I have no say in this business whatsoever, so why would I actually care about where the direction goes? It's funny, I was in a meeting the other day and one of the senior leaders was talking about how him and his peer had talked it over and they're going to be doing a different format to make this meeting better and more engaging. And after the meeting, I had talked to some of my peers and I was like, hey, did you give any feedback on what we can do to make this meeting better? And they said, no, nobody had approached them about it. And I thought it was interesting because how are they able to make the meeting better without first talking to the people that are attending it to see what they feel could be better about it? And it's not to say that they could potentially have a great idea to make it better. Sure, maybe they could. But one thing is for sure is that if you got feedback from those attending, you could guarantee the meeting is better because you're collecting information from those that are attending to how to make it more engaging, to how to make it better. And if you're able to implement those ideas, then you don't have to think nearly as hard. You can get it right from the people that are going to those meetings. So what can leaders do in order to make an environment where feedback is actually valued? First is to create a culture of open communication. You've got to establish right away that it is an open environment for you to come and give feedback. And this has to happen all the time. This can't be just a monthly survey or a yearly survey that you ping your team and that's it. You've got to always have your door open for feedback. Next is to actively listen without defensiveness. It is tough sometimes to get some really tough feedback, especially when it has to do with yourself. But understand that the people around you are trying to make you a better person. And so when you take that feedback and you apply it, not only are you making yourself better, but you're making your team stronger as well. Third, show that feedback leads to action. This is probably one of the more important ones, and it's also probably one of the more harder ones as well. You want to be able to implement everyone's feedback, but to be honest, sometimes the feedback that they give is just hard to do. And so you have to still show that. You still have to show that when you give somebody feedback, we are definitely going to act upon it in some capacity. Even if it's just having a conversation with that person to say, I really appreciate your feedback, but right now we're just not able to implement it. But it's something that we definitely will think about in the future. After that, you've got to establish clear feedback loops. Make sure that you're checking in regularly with your teams to let them know the status updates on feedback, to let them know what it is that you're looking into, to let them know what direction the business is going so that you can ask for more feedback in the future. And finally is to reward honest and constructive feedback. Now, this isn't saying that I expect everyone to go out there and start giving monetary reimbursements for feedback. But when you recognize people for giving good feedback, for giving honest feedback, it makes others want to also do the same thing. And again, the honest and constructive piece is a really important part because you don't want just people out there complaining about stuff. You want them looking for solutions. And I'm sure there's a ton of different things that people can do in order to make feedback better. Think about what it is that's going to work for you and your environments, and maybe expand these lists as you continue on your path to get better feedback. Thanks so much for watching. Feedback is a gift, and never stop giving it, never stop receiving it. You've got to put things into perspective on what it is that you're trying to accomplish with this feedback. And I guarantee you, leaders out there, when you start to implement feedback, when you really start to listen, it can make such a difference. And remember, there are so many avenues out there where surveys are done over and over again, and it almost gets lost in the mix, especially when feedback isn't actioned and you yourself want to then get feedback. Nobody's going to want to give it to you because they know that it's never actioned upon. And so you have a duty and a responsibility to the people around you to really make sure that you're acting on it. So make a difference today. If you haven't had a chance, do me a favor, check out a couple of videos I've got posted. Remember, elevating yourself to the next level starts with a single step. Take that step today. We'll see you next time.